Okay, that slipped right out. It just went right in there, and then that collar went on the top to trap it. And actually when I first got it out, it was kind of catching a little bit. But as little as this thing gets used, it just is a thrust bearing for going up and down on the knee. So I think I'm just gonna stick with what I've got. Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Toppenberg. It is early fall here in Eastern Tennessee. It's just beautiful weather. I've been restoring a Bridgeport mill. If you haven't seen the earlier parts of the series, you may want to go check those out. Today's video is all about struggling. We're going to get the column, we're going to work on the column, we're going to get the knee on it, we're going to get the ram on the turret, and then both of those on the column. And it is not easy. All right, hope you enjoyed. Got a good show for you. I'm going to put the bearing back into the knee. I got the collar just wire wheeled. I've put some oil into this bearing, and if it was high speed turning, I might want to replace it, but it feels okay. It's not as smooth as butter, but I think it's not, I think with the slow motion of this bearing is going to be due as the knee goes up and down, I think that'll be fine without replacing. Let's get this worm gear back in here. Got a set screw, so we're gonna have a washer that goes on the bottom and the one that goes on the top. And then, let's see, so I guess we'll put that the key in afterwards. So we're gonna put this, drop this down through the top, through that washer. Then I've got to get this in here, the worm gear. So I think I gotta pull this out. Well, so through the top washer, through the worm gear, through the bottom washer, and down into there. But how do I now get the key in there? Huh. All right. Let's try putting the key into here. Okay, got the key in there. I'll put the washer on the bottom. Then the key is towards the set screw. And I'm just gonna make sure that these are lined up. It's knocking the key out. This could be tricky. I got it. Got it down through the bottom one. Okay. Tighten the set screw back. I like it. I've got the pedestal screw back in its brass nut. I looked at this screw itself. Threads look really good. Very little wear. I mean, there's not a whole lot of up and down motion with knees, so this should be fine. And I'm gonna work on getting that knee back on there. Okay, I've cleaned off paint and junk that picked up on here. I can still see the scrape marks here, here, here. Maybe I can imagine them here and here, but there's some wear on this. And my original goal was to try to scrape this all in and make it nice, but one of my other viewers pointed out that at this point, with the tools that I have, I'm probably as likely to make it worse as I am to make it better, so I've decided to just put it on as it is. And again, there's not a whole lot of play in here. So I'm just gonna go with how that is and get that back on. And again, the dovetails on here, you can see all of the original flaking. I've got this knee on the engine hoist, and a couple of considerations are, I still am concerned whether that arm is going to be able to lift that high enough to get the bottom of the knee over the top of these dovetails. And I've tried measuring it, and I realized that I had a hard time, eyeballing across from the bottom or the top of those dovetails to there, but I think that it's going to clear. That's one issue. Second issue is I was initially going to put this hook directly through this metal bracket here. Then I realized that this is a racer where the bearing goes in, and I didn't want to booger it up. So I've got this this lifting belt here, and that's gonna lose me about 2 inches, but I'm hoping that won't make any difference. All right, so let's see if I can get this up high enough to get it over. Well, my height is okay. You can see I've got it high enough, but the problem is the legs on this hoist are giving me problems. So I think I'm gonna have to put a floor jack here and maybe here, and then take these 2 blocks out. And I'm not even sure if that's gonna work, so that I can get this leg coming this way so I can get that centered. All right, I couldn't video and do it at the same time, but I got that block out, 1 jack up, so I still have 3 blocks and then 1 jack. Plus, if it were to fall, it would just fall onto there. And then by coming at an angle and then bringing it down just the right amount and kind of lifting it up and over, I've been able to seat it on those dovetails. So now I'm gonna work on just getting it lowered down. All right, so we're coming in to where it needs to mate up with that thrust bearing. It's pretty close. I'm gonna probably have to just get a little bit lower and then I feel it's setting on it now. All right, and now the threaded top of that is in. Whole thing there is in. And we are on. Woo! Oh, that makes me happy. Happy, happy, happy. That went much easier than I thought it would. All right, I have a few scuffs I'll need to touch up. I need to get the plugs that I put in for the grease fittings. And I think this is where maybe a DRO might have gone on at some point. I don't think that there was anything on that initially. And I'll need to get the gib in, which means I need to get that cleaned up. I need to clean up these, you know, the paint and stuff on there. And then I just want to show how that looks in there. Got the key, thrust bearing, and then that, like a crown gear will go on top of that and made in with this, which comes out to the shaft. All right, it's coming along. I'm trying to slide the ram back onto the turret, and it's giving me a fit. These don't have a gib, which means it's gotta be just right, because there's very little play once you get it in there. So I've got it, you know, suspended by my engine hoist with an extender because I can't get the legs up underneath it. And I'm trying to get it just right, and it is fighting me. Okay, so there it looks like I've got it just barely on, but then it won't slide forward. All right, now it's moving, because not only is it dependent on the right-left, but it also has to be right up and down. All right, so I think I've got it on there. So now I'm gonna get some oil. So this is some of my South Bend Lathe Way oil. All right, let's see if it'll move. The other factor is these are the locks that hold it in there. And I seem to recall that the ram would not slide over the top of the locks, which I think I had to somehow get it on halfway and then reach underneath there. So I may be taking this back off again because I don't have them on there now. Trying to get some oil on there, on the ways part of the ram. Boy, the up and down motion seems to be more important than anything else. I oiled the inner part of the ways, and that wasn't the part it was riding on. That's not bad. This will help me better. Some paint bunching up from here. I don't know where it's coming from. I thought I got all the... Oh, there is a little bit on there. Shoot. If I can get it a little bit further, then I can put the crank in. Try to back it up and see if I can get any sort of stuck paint out. The retaining pin. There you go. So one problem with trying to paint everything and make it nice before you put it on there is it gets all scuffed and scraped up. All right. All right, so that's as much as I'm doing tonight. I still have to figure out how to put those locks in, and like I said, I may have to end up taking it back off again. But it seems like the wiggling the tail up and down, and when I was taking it off, I kept thinking it was a left-right problem, and I really was working hard on it, and then I just realized and lift up the end, and it came out at like the last 2 inches when I was taking it out. All right. Okay, it's a new day. I'm gonna try to get these locking blocks mounted in. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about this. There was another video, and I can't remember who it was, but did a good job and was showing about cleaning these things. So what happens is there is a threaded part here and then a block, and these are made so that they can gap just a little bit. And that is enough, that difference is enough to bind the ram which goes on the outside. So it's a very tight fit around there. And then just a very little bit of screwing in here, which then pushes on the second part to gap it out. And what this other YouTuber pointed out is that sometimes you get chips and debris in here, and then that will prevent it from coming back to its relaxed state, and then you get a bind. So I drove this pin out. It comes out like that, and then you can rotate it like this, and it's got a groove just like that. Now this one was a little bit bent, and it had some scores on the side, and I took that all so that it would kind of slide nicely so I could get it in and out. But then afterwards I was wondering maybe I shouldn't have done that, because this could theoretically come out, but it's pretty tight. I don't think it's gonna slide out and get lost. And this pin prevents it so you can set it down in there, and there's like a shelf on each side while you're getting the bolt in. And once the bolt is in, that will hold it. And so I don't think that this is that critical. And like I said, again, it slides a little bit, but it doesn't fall out. Okay, so what I think, and I'm going to check today, is when I do my lever to slide it one way or the other, it can only go a certain distance, and it reaches the end of the rack. And at the end of the rack, it can't go any farther. But I think if I take this out, then obviously it can slide all the way because I got it all the way off. And I think I can slide it enough away this way that I can get the lock on this side, and then slide it all the way and try to get the lock on that side. So that's what I'm going to try to do now. And I'm just noticing I got it all scratched up when I was manipulating here, so I'm going to have to come back and touch up the paint. But we'll do that probably after we get it on the column. All right, I'm going to do a time lapse of this because it's probably going to take a while. Okay, so that went fairly well. I just slid the ram forward, set that in there, got the bolt screwed in, and I noticed that when it reaches the lock, this is not all the way up against the face there. All right, so now I got to try to get it slid back and over that. Okay, so that went pretty well. Now let's do it the other way. Okay, now I've got it slid back the other way. Separate these two. Set that right in there. Those arms hold it from dropping down. Come in and get that there. Now let's slide it back forward. Very nice. I was stressing that I was going to have to take that ram back off again, so I'm very happy about that. All right, let's just double check that they tighten up. And that's 3/4 inch. They tighten up nicely, and that's not going anywhere. But I just realized I got to get my I guess this is a pinion gear, maybe because the other one's rack and it's rack and pinion. All right, let's get that back in. And when I look down in there, there's this groove, and that little pin is faced like that, and then that's going to set down in the groove in there, and that's what sets its distance. And I look in there and I can see it. So I get that set. And that moves, and then let's lock it. And that does not move. Very good. Woohoo! All right, I'm going to next set this back on the column. Inside the column, there are 4 little platforms like that, and 2 on the other side. And this device I'm sure it has a name, but I don't know it, is gonna come down. The turret will set on here, bolts will go down into there. This one will come up again and mate up against the undersurface of that and allow it to rotate, but also be held in there firmly. So I've got to get my ram and turret suspended over here and set down on that and have it match up with the bolts. All right, so I'm ready to move this. I've got it hooked up onto my engine winch with the extension. And let me just make a comment here. I've been joking about this being my drop-o-matic. Obviously, you can't cheat the laws of physics. If the net mass is outside the center of gravity of this device, it's going to tip. Now, this is not super heavy, and when I lift it up, it actually comes in a little bit, and then there's weight here on the back side. And plus I'm going to be also on, my weight will be back there as well. So in this particular case, I'm able to get my foot as close as that. So this really could be 18 inches shorter, but I don't want to cut the piece of wood. And this bracing back here prevents the wood from coming back more. So I'm just going to go very carefully with this. What could go wrong? Okay, let's see what we can do. Well, it goes up slowly. I don't think you can see it, but because the column is up on blocks, there's a gap underneath between the two, and so I can get one of the legs of the crane, engine hoist rather, in between there. That's what I'm trying to do carefully. Actually, I think I'm going to have to put a leg on each side because, well, okay, it's on because it's rotating smoothly, so I can take it off the crane, the hoist. All right, say another milestone. My next goal is to get the mounting bolts. So I've got to put these down here and they've got to match into that mounting bracket I showed before. And I want to line the holes up without knocking anything loose. So I'm just going to use this to see if I'm through the holes. And that looks pretty good. All right, so let's just try going forward with one. And when I reach in here, I can actually feel up on top of, and I can guide that. All right, I'm in on that one. That's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Why is this so much longer? I may have my bolts mixed up. Hang on. Yeah, there's a set of 3 that are used for the head at the neck, or whatever you want to call this joint. And then there's these 4, and these are shorter, so I got the wrong set. Okay. That's in. And by the way, I lined this up to 0 degrees, and that's probably another reason why it was lined up properly, because it was set that way, or designed that way. Getting a 2 on this other side. Okay, everything looks good. I'm just gonna tighten them up. There, she's looking more like a mill. Right there is where, when I was carrying it, the paint wasn't completely dry and it was rubbing up against my belt buckle. So I got that, and then apparently that must have been when I think it might have come from that eye dragging over the top of this. I'll have to do that. And this back has got lots of ripples on it, and part of me wants to try to make it perfect. The other part of me thinks that's foolish. The table over there on the floor is terrible. It looks like the face of the moon. So I'm not sure what the point of having a beautiful back when that's not up to snuff. So for right now, I'm just gonna leave it. But I am gonna come back and touch up. I mean, I see stuff like that, but that should be easy to touch up. All right. Okay, that's our show for today. I hope you had a good time watching that, and I am sure glad that all that is done. Man, getting that ram onto that turret what a struggle that was. But it's looking good. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like, leave a comment. I usually try to get back to all the comments. I have a pretty small channel. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next part. Peace out.